Good afternoon ค่ะ I'll start in about 2 or 3 minutes. Mariam, I got your message. I got your email ค่ะ It's okay. Understand. Partly my fault. Partly my fault, so I'll take it ค่ะ
Thank you.
อ่า โอเคค่ะ I'd like to start today with the last part of lecture 5. Please have a look at the screen. Right here ค่ะ The key word here is world system theory. This theory suggested that hang on. Stop presenting. Based on this theory, it suggests that we should categorize types of countries into 3 types. Okay, this is just the theory that suggests that, hey, you know what? Apart from looking at if a country is a developed or less developed, rich or poor, we can also categorize country into 3 types. The first type is called periphery country. Have a look at the chat box. The second type, core countries. Third type, semi-periphery. For the periphery countries, they are an agricultural countries, mostly produce raw materials that served to the core country. So the periphery country economy is tied to the core country economy. If core country is doing well, that means there will be a big demand for raw materials from periphery countries. The periphery countries can make much money. They will be able to improve their economy. Periphery countries and core countries are highly connected. Their economies are affecting one another. They're depending on one another. Periphery country cannot live on their own. Core country as well. Periphery countries, like I said, it needs to sell raw material to core country. And that is the main source of income for them. But the core country, they produce manufacturing products. And that's how they get majority of their income. They will not be able to produce the products for sale without having reasonable supplies of raw material from periphery countries. Without raw materials, of course, they cannot produce. Their economy, may not be improved. Their economy may decline if they do not have enough raw material supplies. That's why I said that the economies of these two types of countries are highly connected. They're depending on one another. Right? Now, if we look at characteristic of periphery countries, most of these countries are located in tropical regions. They are located in tropical regions. Countries that are suitable for agriculture, moderate climate, reasonable amount of rainfall, okay? Good quality of the soil, okay? Very good countries for agriculture. The numbers of population is quite high. Governments are not so effective. Governments are not so effective in those periphery countries. People still have low level of education and low literacy rate. Infrastructures and basic needs are not provided throughout the countries. Mostly infrastructures and facilities are provided within the major city. Outside of the major cities, people have less access to those basic needs. The standard of living of people still low in periphery countries. Now, moving on to core countries. Core countries mainly focus on industrial activities, and that's how they receive the main source of income. Their economies are quite large, quite strong and stable, but they will not be able to the economy might not be stabilized or may not be improved without raw material. All right, but most of the time they receive enough raw material, so these allow them to have stable economy and always have large size of the economy. Anyway, core country have very effective government. Their government guarantees people rights and help support the improvement within the country. Like I said, in less developed countries or in the periphery countries, government are not effective. They corrupt. They are not aiming to improve things in the country. They aim to gain benefits into their pockets. But for the core countries, there are rules, regulations, observation system, let's say all kinds of systems that make it difficult to corrupt. The people in core countries, they won't have an easy access to corrupt the country. So since they cannot corrupt, it's better for them to do good things for the country. So the government are quite effective. They focus on the people, wanting to improve the country, wanting to make sure that everyone have their rights protected. Okay. Majority of the core countries are located in the northern region, or in the colder regions. Most of them, not saying all, most of them are located in a colder area. The physical geography of those countries are not so suitable for agriculture. So they had to find alternative economic activities to maintain their living. Industry is one of the choice that they could choose, right? So since the weather is not good, the soil is not good for agriculture, so people prefer to produce manufacturing products for sale instead. That's how they get much money. Moving on to the last type of the country, it's called semi-periphery. It's a type of country that practice both agriculture and industry. 50% agriculture, 50% industry, right? The income from both sectors are quite even, are quite equal with one another. Example of countries like this are Malaysia, Thailand, I would say Indonesia, Philippines. These are examples of semi-peripheral countries that practice both agriculture and industry. The productivities and the income from the two sectors are quite even, right? This is the type of countries that consider as independent country. Independent country. If other countries around the world were to isolate one another, isolate from one another, or if Thailand were to close down the country, Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines were to close down their country, not allowing people to travel out and in, not trading with one another, if they were isolated from one another, countries like this, the semi-peripheral country, they will survive. They will survive and they will last longer than core and periphery country. Now, we produce our own agriculture, our own farm products, raw material products, and we serve to the industries that we have in our own country. The industry produce manufacturing products and sell it within the country, make enough money from the people within the country. So, like I said, even if we were to close down, we will survive. We will be okay. Our economy may not improve or may not get larger, but at least we will survive. Right? Without a trade, we will survive. But with core and periphery country, without trading with one another, that countries may not survive. All right. Like I said, the core, they need raw material. The periphery country, they need money. Periphery and core are dependent from one another. Dependent. Not, they are dependent. Just in case if you cannot hear me well. Dependent. But semi-periphery countries are very independent. That's all ค่ะ and that's it for your assignment. I'll be posting the assignment anytime soon. Alright, remember that your lecture file will only be in your assignment. Next, I am going to start the content for your final. Take note carefully. This is going to be the content for your final นะคะ I posted the PowerPoint slide for your final already right here นะคะ in Google Classroom Wall. Have a look นะคะ Now I will copy the important part from the slide and post in the chat box so that you can see me and see the content at the same time. Otherwise, if you see only the text, see the content, you may get bored. 1 second นะคะ Culture. Let's deal with these terms. Hang on จ้ะ custom tradition. Okay. Um, I use the same content here to teach my another class as well. So if you are in my another class, you should be able to understand this content quickly. All right. These are important terms that I would like for you to apply into your essay. All right. These are important terms that I'd like to see you mention them in your essays. Whenever you mention these words, please make sure you highlight it or underline it for me so that I know you already apply some of the knowledge that we've been through in class into your essay. This is one part that I'm looking for in your essay. Implementation of what you know in class into your answer. Okay? Now, two major content that we are going to cover in the final: the culture and migration. With the migration, I'll take care of it, at the end of the term. Like the last week of the term, I'll be taking care of the migration. But for now, let's deal with culture. These are terms that we use often when we study culture. Some of you have already came across these terms, but let me remind you and refresh your memory once again. Norm, take note carefully นะคะ Norms refer to common agreement that everyone in the society accept. Common agreement that everyone in the society accept. Or perceptions that everyone shared with one another and agreed on. Hang on นะคะ โอเคค่ะ Example of norm would be something like sex outside of marriage is bad. It's not acceptable. Cheating on boyfriend or girlfriend is bad. It's not acceptable. These are the ideas, perceptions, and agreement that everyone have in the society. You have been told, you have been taught these ideas, these concepts from early age. Okay? From the first day that you were born, you are introduced with this idea by your parents, your relatives, your friends, your teachers, and people in your childhood. It is not in the written format. These ideas are not in the written format. They are just ideas that pass on from generation to generation. Right? Another example of norm would be things like killing living things is bad. This norm is actually adopted from the religious beliefs. People have been told in early age that, hey, killing is bad, we shouldn't be doing it. You're making a sin according to Buddhism and things like that. So we've been told, we've been taught, sometimes it is very difficult to distinguish the norms that society developed or the norm that we collected or adopted from religious beliefs. Guys, things like cheating on boyfriend and girlfriends, these are norms that the society developed. They wanted to keep peace with one another. Boyfriend and girlfriends, they do not want to sacrifice their love. They do not want to sacrifice their loved one and sharing their loved one with others. They don't want to fight because their boyfriend cheated on them or things like that. So they try to keep peace by developing the idea that cheating or having sex outside of marriage is bad. This is a norm that developed by the society themselves. But we also have norms that we adopted from religious belief. We collected from some of the beliefs that we have in the religion, like killing is bad. It is not, basically, it's not exactly in the written format that, hey, you should not be killing one another. All right. So, norms can be used to control people behavior. Okay, norm can be used to control people behavior. If people violate the norm, if they disagree with the norm and do something else differently, there might be some mild punishment or soft punishment. It's not a big threat for people to receive this kind of punishment. It's not a big deal. Most of the time, people can manage it. The punishment that people receive often affect people psychologies, people mentality as well, psychology and mentality. For example, if you cheated on your partner, you will get punishment from the society in the form of gossiping. They will gossip about you. Okay, they will gossip about you. It's not going to be a physical harm or anything like that on you. But then when you see people whispering, gossiping about you, it irritates your emotion. It disturbs your psychology. You feel annoyed when people gossip about you. Or sometimes they may come to you and talk to you straight to your face that you cheated on your partner. This is not acceptable. You are a bad person. You shouldn't be doing this. They will put a complaint on you. Of course, it's not a physical effect. It will affect more in your emotion. It will make you become less valuable. It will make you feel less valuable in the society. The complaint can degrade you, making you become no one, making you become very miserable in your own society, right? The worst case that they could do to you is to excommunicate you. Excommunicate. Excommunicate means they will not talking to you. They will stop any kinds of relationship with you. They will ignore you, pretend that you not exist. That's a form of excommunication. Imagine you walking around your own society. Nobody look at you, nobody talk to you, nobody say hello to you, nobody wants to do anything to you. It make you feel like you in air, you no one in your own society. It is quite suffering though. It will damage your feelings, your emotion and things like that. It make people feel like they are less important and they are not, once they feel that they are not important, once they feel that they are no one into the society, they are not going to use their potential. They are not going to contribute what they can do to the society. The society will lose a lot of human resource from this kind of punishment. Imagine if we have good, capable people in our own society, and for some reason we excommunicate them, we abandon them, we ignore them. Those people, they will feel left out. They'll feel like they are an alien to their own society. They feel like they're not being accepted. It means that they're not going to be able to use their potential, not going to be able to use their ability to help out the society or to improve the society. We lost, as a whole society, we lost the opportunity to make things better. We waste a lot of human resource. Now, the next important thing, guys, norm can be used to make laws. Norm can be used to make laws. Guys, whenever we make laws, the laws have to be understood and accepted by the people in the society. We cannot just randomly come up with the laws and hoping for people to accept and hoping for people to understand. So the way to make law is to look at the norm that we have in the society. We look at what kind of things that people accept, what kind of things that people value, what kind of things that people do not accept. We use some idea from the norm and we develop into laws. Like I said, we have a norm that we've been told to one another that killing is bad. Killing is bad. We are not accepting that the killing of lives. Okay, this is what we value. This is what's significant in our own society. So we use this concept and we turn into laws. Laws have legal punishment. The punishment affects on both physical, let's say, affect on the physical bodies and also affects on the mental and finance, laws, and punishment affects a person, physical body, finance, and mental. Some of the punishment can be very harsh. So if you violate the laws, you will receive these consequences. Either you will be tortured in the prison, or you will have to pay the fees from what you have done. Okay? And then you will have your emotional breakdown from having to go through the confessions process, from having to go through the court to defend yourself and things like that. And then people may condemn you for what you have done, right? So laws are more enforced. Important here. Laws are more enforced. Everyone is abide by the law. No one can reject the laws. As a citizen of the country, you have to be abide by your laws, the country laws. But with the norm, you can still choose if you want to fall into those norms or not. You can reject them if you like, because the punishments are more mild. And sometimes if you violate the norm secretly without having other people know, you will not receive any punishment. All right? They are not enforced. You can choose to believe or not to believe, but with laws, you must follow it strictly. That's it. Any question for the norm, let me knowนะคะ. If you guys are okay, press 1 ค่ะ. Moving on to the tradition. Now, tradition ค่ะ. The next word. Tradition is a tool that we use to express what we believe. ครับนะคะ Let me summarize for you. Tradition, a tool to express what we believe and what we value. A tradition is also a tool to allow us to strengthen the existence of our culture นะคะถ้าเขียนให้ exist it is also a channel yeah that we can participate in our cultural practice tradition นะคะ is a tool that we use to express what we believe what we value in our own society okay it's also a tool that allow us to maintain and to strengthen our culture lastly tradition is a channel that allow us or a tradition is an access for us to participate in cultural practice example of the traditions are those rituals ceremonies festival the gesture that we have one more time นะคะ gesture yeah gestures festival ritual ceremony now tradition is a part of our culture that has its own symbol very important here tradition is part of the culture that has its own symbol that can use to reflect let me type for you ก่อนนะyeah ค่ะ tradition has its own symbols that can be used to express characteristic of the culture those symbols are what I just mentioned gesture festival rituals and ceremony these are symbols that we use to express the characteristic of the culture that we have or we can say that the gesture festival rituals and ceremonies reflects who we are what our culture is it reflects it expresses the culture and the people in the area give one example Thai people believe that it is important to pay respect to one another doesn't matter if you are older younger but we have to pay respect to one another so we create a symbol that reflects what we believe we put our hands together we bow down and we say sorry we say สวัสดี we say thank you so putting the hand is a gesture right it's a gesture bowing down this is a symbol to show what we believe what we value and this is a characteristic of our culture festival let's use an example of water festival, the Songkran festival that we have every year in April. We believe that it's important to cherish the god of water. We wanted to praise the god of water, all right? Give the privileges to god of water. So we have a ceremonies to pay respect to the god of water. The festival itself is a symbol. It shows that it shows to others that we believe that God of water exists and we need to cherish the God of water. We need to come out and cheer the God of water. At the same time, the festival itself have all kinds of activities within it. Splashing the water on one another, going to the temple to make merit. This festival allow people to have access to participate in what they believe. That's why I said tradition is a channel that people can do or people can participate in what they believe. Without the festival, it's going to be very hard for people to show what they believe at home or where else, right? Rituals as well, ceremonies, they are pretty much the same as the festivals. It is a kind of event. They are kind of event that people can participate in what they believe. Ritual ceremonies are also considered as symbols that reflect what people believe, what people value. Okay. Now, let's see what else. I think that's it for the tradition. If you are okay, press 1. Any question, press 2 ค่ะ Okay นะคะ Moving on to the next word ค่ะ Custom. Custom refer to any behaviors, any actions that most people in the society do. Most of these actions and behaviors can be, let's say, most of these actions and behaviors do not have any reason behind. What I'm saying is that sometimes we just do things because other people are doing it. We're doing it without understanding why we're doing it. We're doing it without having any reasons or understand any reason why we're doing it. For example, before I give you example. So custom is more like a pressure that encourage the people to do things like the others in the community in order to be able to get the acceptance from the society. It makes people feel like, man, if I don't do this, people are not going to accept me. They are going to think that I'm an alien. I'm the odd one out. So just to ease your mind, you do things just to fit in. And most of the time you have no idea why are you doing this? What's the reason of doing this? Can you get any benefits from doing it? You have no idea. Sometimes you just do it. Right now we are having a new custom since we have the improvement of the smartphone and internet and things like that. So now it's become more like a custom now that when you go to the restaurant and when the food is served, everyone taking the photo of the food. If you go to the restaurant with your friends, all of your friends start taking the photo of the food and you feel like, okay, I don't know why I have to take the photo of the food. I feel a little awkward about it, but man, everyone's doing it. I don't want to be the odd one out. I don't want to be questioned by my friend. Why are you not taking the photo? So you take the photo just to fit in. And when you look around the people on the table, they also taking photo of the food. So when you see other people do it, it's kind of like encourage you, pressure you to do it. Custom is the least important part of the culture, guys. It's the illogical part of the culture. It's illogical. It can be irrational, not making sense. Sometimes we just do it without questioning it. Why are we doing it? That's custom. Custom can be changed and it should change. We may, I think we have to sit back and look at our own custom and question, why are we doing this? What's the benefit? What's the reason behind? Because that's, in reality, people are just doing it without having any concern. They're not aware of what they're doing. I think it's a waste of time for us to just try to fit in without understanding those actions behind. It's a waste of time, Jing, for your life. Why don't you just do things that make more sense? Do things that give you more benefits. Do things based on your preference rather than other people's preference. Okay, so this is one of the homework that I'd like for you to have. It's not an assignment, just that I want you to think about when after class, just think about, is there anything in your own culture that similar to this? You do things just because other people do it. Just think about it. Should we get rid of this kind of custom? Why should we hold on to this kind of custom when they are not making sense? Most of the time, the custom is what delay the development of the culture. The custom is what make the culture irrational, impractical. If you take a look at some of the developed culture in developed countries like the American culture, European culture, Western cultures, they no longer hold on to these customs. They don't talk about the custom anymore. They think that it's the least important part of the culture, not making sense. Why have it? Why holding on to it? But in many less developed countries or in many conservative societies, they still hold on to this custom. They do it for the sake of fitting in. Okay? And they try to enforce this custom on the young generation. They pass these custom on from generation to generation. They thought that it's their duty to keep this custom, when in fact it's not important and it's nobody's duty to pass on the custom. That's allค่ะfor the custom. If you are okay, press 1 ค่ะ. I'm moving on to the next word, which is cultural rights. Hold on นะคะ guys. Save อันนี้ก่อนแป๊บนึง Okay. Two perspectives about cultural rights. The first perspective is by human rights commission. Okay? And the government perspective. For the Human Rights Commission, cultural rights means the rights to enjoy participating in beliefs and practice in culture. The rights to enjoy participating in beliefs and practice in culture. Underline the word enjoyed. If you are enjoying the cultural practice and the cultural beliefs, that means you have cultural rights. Is and cultural. If you have the right to enjoy cultural practice, cultural beliefs, that means you have cultural rights. For the government, they talk or they concern more about the access to participate in cultural practice and access to Wait. นะคะ Make sure นะ you make a copy of this. The first one, let me address the importance of the first one once again. For Human Rights Commission, they concern about people well-being, people happiness when they participate in cultural beliefs, cultural rights. If you gain pleasure or happiness from what you're doing, it means you have cultural rights. This also means that if you participate in some cultural practice and you feel unhappy about it, you feel oppressed, you feel that this is not right, this practice is not right, that means you are not having cultural rights. That means you are being forced into culture. For example, rape culture. Rape culture in India. Those men perpetrator who rape women, they would say that they have cultural rights. They rape women. They enjoyed raping. They enjoy raping. And this raping is part of their belief. They believe that if they can rape a woman, it means that they are mature. They're old enough. They're macho. They are a man. They use their power to abuse women. They are a man. They're stronger than women. The men perpetrator would say, yes, I have cultural rights. But for the women, they are forced into this cultural practice. They are not enjoying it. They are not enjoying being raped, being bullied, or experiencing physical violence. So these women, they would say that they are not having cultural rights. They are being forced into the culture. Right? You only have cultural rights if you enjoyed it. If you're not enjoying it, you are being forced and you do not have cultural rights. That's based on Human Rights Commission. Moving on to the governments around the world. Their duty is to provide access and guarantee people rights to their culture. They concentrate on the access, not the happiness of the people. They don't care if the people enjoy practicing this, enjoy the beliefs that they have. They just want to guarantee that people should have access to this practice, to these beliefs. They're not considering how people feel towards it. It means that, listen to this carefully, it means that if rape culture exists in Thailand, Thai government will guarantee that both men and women can continue to practice this. They are not going to look if there will be any consequences from raping or not. If rape is part of our culture, the government will make sure that there's a raping festival, there's a raping event, so that people can have access to this kind of practice. That's the government attitude when they look at the cultural rights. Okay? They only want to provide access, not concerning about happiness. Press 1 if you okay. If you have question, let me know. ให้ค่ะ Moving on to what word now? Cultural justification. Cultural justification is the idea of what is right and what is wrong. What is right and what is wrong actually develop from local ethic. This ethic นะคะ Let me draw this for you ก่อน A cultural justification is the idea to tell people this is wrong, this is right. And then the question is how or what create the idea of what is wrong and what is right? It's actually developed from the local ethic. Local ethic means each area they develop their own ethic. The ethic that they have sometimes come from the religious beliefs, sometimes come from the people's own judgment. they put this into the ethic, like the religious ethic, the people judgment combined together create local ethics. And from local ethic, we use it to justify what is right and what is wrong. Most societies are suffering with the cultural justifications because cultural justifications are something that very old. They are created long time ago by group of powerful men. All right. Cultural justification is old. It's created long time ago by group of powerful men. They put their idea, their judgment, their ethics into the cultural justification and they pass it on from generation to generation. Each societies have different cultural justifications because each society develop things differently. Each societies are located in different physical environment. What considered right may not in Thai society may not be considered right in European society. What considered wrong in Thai society may not be considered wrong in European societies. There are tons of factors that influence the way people in the society develop their ethics, develop their develop their idea of right and wrong. So what I'm trying to say here is that there is no such thing as universal cultural justification. No universal. No such thing. No centralized idea of what is right and wrong that all human use, that all human tied to. Each society, each country develop their own cultural justification based on what they know, what they understand, their own judgment and things like that. We cannot, this is very important, we cannot use our own cultural justification to judge the people outside of our community's behavior. We are Thai. The idea was right and was wrong in our culture is unique. We cannot use this idea that we have to judge the African people, whether if they are wrong or if they are right. เท่านั้นค่ะ cultural justification. It's an old thing. The old people back in the ancient time, they developed the idea of this is right, this is wrong. And we have been holding it on from generation to generation. This is another part of the culture that we need to be careful, that we need to look at. If this is really right or if this is really wrong. All right. Now, let me give you one example. According to the human nature, stated by the author who wrote the book *Sapien*, if you ever read, he mentioned that humans are not born to mate with one person. We are not born to mate or have sexual relations with just one person. By our nature, we enjoyed having multiple partners, several partners. We do not, based on that but that thoughts, okay, based on that human nature. It's okay to have multiple wives, multiple husbands, and it's okay to have, I used simple word, all right, it's okay to have group sex rather than single sex with one partner, all right. Human natures are like that. That's science, that's natural. But then in many society, they develop the idea that it is right to have only one partner. And if you have multiple partners or if you have group sex that is so wrong. That idea have been passed on from generation and generation. I don't know if you ever thought about it. Why is it so wrong to have group sex? If people are agree, if they enjoyed it, why is it so wrong? And if our partners agrees that yes, we are going to have a few partners, then why not? If people agree, if our partners agree with this, why not? So basically, the idea of what's right and what's wrong are just being used to control our behavior. Then we have to look at it again. What's the benefit of having this kind of behavior control? Like I said, someone in the past in our society said that group sex is bad. It's wrong. Having multiple partners is wrong. We're gonna have to look back, why is it wrong? And if they can control us from having multiple partners or group sex, what kind of benefit will they get from making such rules? Maybe we have to take a look at it. Who get benefit from controlling our sexual behavior? And why do we have to be following those people ideas? And when we actually have different preference. That's all ค่ะ cultural justification ค่ะ moving on to the last one ค่ะ What is it? The last one. Cultural heritage. Cultural heritage is the physical part of the culture. Physical part of the culture. It's the tangible part of culture. Tangible part of cultures refer to those buildings, those statues, those monuments that we have, something very physical, those buildings, statues, the handmade and all. They are included in the cultural heritage. That's all. Cultural heritage, something very physical, something that appeared in the area or appear on the earth's surface. The cultural heritage reflects what we value. It reflects what the people in the society value or believes. If you ever travel to Bali, in most people's houses, they will have the spirit house. They will have the temples within the house where they can perform their religious rituals in every household. Like you will see a small room, a small or tiny home. All right. But then you will see bigger size of the temple within their home, bigger size of the spirit house within their home. The place where you sleep, you make it so small. The place where you relax, you make it so small. But when it comes to the temples within your home, within your wall, you make it so big. This shows us that people highly value their beliefs, their religious belief. They are not prioritizing their own happiness, their own well-being. They would rather sacrifice the space on their land for the temples or for the spirit house. Okay. last word cultural identity cultural identity is what make us unique. It is something that we can use to describe to people of who we are. The cultural identity is a combination of the physical part of the culture and the, let's say, the mental part of the culture. Physical part, mental part of the culture. Physical part refer to cultural heritage. Mental parts, beliefs, values, norm. So, in general, cultural identity means characteristic of the area that you have, those cultural heritage, plus or combined with the norms, the beliefs, the values that you have, the perception that you have combined together. It creates the uniqueness for your culture. And it's the cultural identity that we use to describe to people of who we are, what we are, why are we different from others. That's all for today,ค่ะ, guys. A lot of people are missing. I'd rather give more detail in class, but I think this is good enough for today,ค่ะ. If you guys are okay นะคะ let me know. If you have question, let me know. If you are fine, you can leave จ้ะ Thank you จ้ะ thank you. พัชยา can you talk to me แบบ again ได้ไหมอะแบบอ๋อที่หนูมาพูดกับพี่ใช่ไหมได้โสพินภาแป๊บนึงนะเดี๋ยวขอนึกถึงปัชยาหนูทำวันเสาร์นี้เวลาเดิมวันเสาร์ใช่ปะปัชยาหนูทำวันเสาร์นี้เวลาเดิมก๊อปปี้มีไหมวันเสาร์นี้เวลาเดิม3 โมงถึง6 โมงเย็นแล้วส่งกลับมาให้พี่โอเคจบจ้ะส่งเหมือนเดิมเหมือนชาวบ้านเขาอะใน Google Classroom เลยเหมือนเพื่อนๆเดี๋ยวมันจะขึ้นเองว่าหนูสอบวันไหนเวลาไหนในระบบโอเคจ้ะจบป้ายส่วนโสพิษนภา cultural identity can be used to explain unique characteristic of the people and unique characteristic of the culture. It's the combination of cultural heritage as the physical things in our culture and beliefs, norms, perceptions and values that we have คือ2 อย่างรวมกันส่วนที่เป็นกายภาพของวัฒนธรรมเราพวกเทมโปพวกบ้านเมืองต่างๆเนี่ยรวมกันกับความเชื่อค่านิยมความรู้ความเข้าใจเรื่องสังคมทุกอย่างเอามารวมกันมันเลยทำให้วัฒนธรรมของเรามันแตกต่างจากที่อื่นเพราะว่าที่อื่นเขาก็มี belief ที่ต่างกันไปมีกายภาพที่ต่างกันไปเวลาเอามันมารวมกันมันก็เลยทำให้เกิดความแตกต่างตรงเนี้ยโสภินภาเก็ตป้าจ๊ะได้ยังโอเคจ้ะโอเคนะ งั้นพี่ไปแล้วนะ see you guys ค่ะบ๊ายบายจ้าบ๊ายบาย